Okay, chapter 30, A Kiss. As bone-weary as we all were, only Sahalia, Jake, and Alex could sleep. Sahalia was curled up on the futon couch, Alex on the butterfly chair. Jake had lain down in front of the futon on the floor, just to rest my eyes for a sec, and soon he was snoring away. I'm ready to work, Josie said. I'll take the first watch over Braden and Mr. Appleton while you guys get some sleep. Astrid stood up. She walked over to the door to the train and looked in, scratching her head. Do you want me to show you where your bunk is? I asked her. I guess you're pretty tired, she said, looking at me. Why? I think I might have lice. Yeah, I said, you probably do. I explained to her that we'd all had lice and that Josie washed our hair. I can wash yours for you, I said. You're not too tired? Astrid asked me. I had been totally wiped out just a moment before, but talking to Astrid, just the idea of washing her hair made me feel really very awake. No, I said, I can always spare a moment to delouse a friend. She smiled. We walked over to the dump. Astrid darted away near office supplies. What are you doing? I asked. She came back holding a pair of scissors. I have 4 brothers, she said. I've had lice 3 times, and there's no way to get them out of long hair like this. You're going to have to give me a haircut. You know I'll suck at it, right? I would be shocked if you didn't, she said. And there, she smiled at me. The same smile I'd been seeing in my dreams since I was a freshman. The hair washing stuff was still set up in the dump, complete with extra towels and everything. Cut away, she said as she sat on one of the stools. God help me, I said. I took a towel and wrapped it around her. I started chopping. The golden tresses that had absolutely transfixed me were now drab and mousy. They were almost like dreadlocks. One big clump was all fused together, and I just hacked at it with the scissors until I had cut the whole thing away. Astrid shivered. Does it feel weird? I asked her. Light, she said. My head feels free. I cut and chopped until it was mostly gone. It looked god-awful. Down to the scalp in some places, wispy in others. Matted down in places and kookily long in others. I think I need to wash it so I can make it look uniform somehow, or better, maybe, I said. She laughed. The most elegant way to wash someone's head over a basin, Josie had figured out by the end of the delousing episode, was to have 2 stools set together. The washee sits facing away from the basin, and the washer sits close to the basin sideways. Then the washee leans back so that they are lying down, their torso resting on your knees. You put the basin under their head, and you have a bottle of water and the shampoo at an arm's reach. I explained this to Astrid, so she sat down facing away from me and then leaned back onto my lap. And there she was, so beautiful, laid out on my knees. She had her eyes closed, and for a moment I just looked at her. Dirty face, lips drawn together, chapped and rosy, eyes red-rimmed, the rise of her cheekbones, eyebrows and lashes golden honey colored, some brown, dried, freckle dots that could be blood on her jawline. Astrid Heyman. I tried to memorize how beautiful she was. Okay, she said, I'm ready. I'm sorry, I told her, it's going to be cold. I poured the water over her head. It's freezing. I put the pitch-smelling shampoo into my hands and started rubbing. I moved my fingers in small circles over the surface of her grimy scalp. She said, and it was all I could do not to bring her to me and kiss her. A trickle of water had run over her forehead to her eye. I took the edge of the towel and dabbed it away softly. In the ruse of brushing away water, I ran my thumb over her eyebrow. It was a marvel of God how perfect it felt under my thumb. Braden shot and Mr. Appleton dying, and all I could think of was that perfect eyebrow. I rinsed the shampoo out. She shivered, and I saw goosebumps go up on her forearms. After it was done, I put my hands under her shoulders and helped her sit up. She towel-dried her hair and put her hands up to feel her head. Oh my God, she said, I'm bald. She turned and looked at me, her blue eyes shining. Her hair was fluffy and standing up in all directions. "You look like a baby chick," I said. She let me trim it some. I cut away the long, draggly tendrils. In the end, she looked not so much like a baby chick, but maybe an orphan boy from a Charles Dickens book. "It's cold," she said, shivering, and I realized I had a hat. It got cold sometimes in the early morning in the kitchen, so I'd taken to keeping one in my back pocket. It was an orange knit ski cap with a band of blue around near the edge. "Thanks," she said, and she put it on. "There's like a dozen different styles in the men's department if you want a different one," I said. I didn't want her to feel some kind of pressure to wear it, and if she replaced it, it would have made me feel better to know that I had given her the idea. "I like yours," she said. I didn't know what to say to that. "I'm going to go check on everybody," I told her. "I'm going to go change," she said. "I smell, don't I?" "Yes, you do," I told her. "Also, you have a terrible haircut." She gave me a smile, a shining golden smile flashing in the center of our dark, lost world. We had moved Braden near Mr. Appleton to make it easier to take care of them. Josie and Nico were looking at Braden. "Can't sleep?" asked Josie. "Not so much," I answered. "How is he?" Braden looked ashen and weak. "If the wound doesn't become infected, I think he'll be okay," Nico said. "And if it does?" Josie asked. I guess I expected Nico to say something about antibiotics. "Maybe I could take him in the bus." "To where?" Josie asked. "The hospital," Nico answered. "You know what Robbie said, it's shut down. There is no one there." "But think about it," Nico said. "Robbie wanted to stay here. He was probably lying. The hospital might be open." "We can't risk it," I said. "I know," he snapped. "Braden's going to be okay," Josie said. She pressed a damp washcloth to his forehead. "You gotta pull through, Braden. We need you to pull through." Braden's breathing was shallow but steady. Maybe he'd be okay. "Now you two go to sleep, and I mean it," Josie said. I was following Nico back to the train, only he didn't go to the train. He went to the bus. "Hey, what are you doing?" I asked. He came out with some supplies, caulk guns, some spackle, some rags. He set them down and then headed off toward housewares. "What are you doing?" I called to his back. He went to the storage section and took a stack of big plastic bins. "Can you get the lids?" he asked. "Sure," I answered, "but Nico, don't you think we should sleep, at least for a few hours?" "You should. I'm going to stock the bus." "You don't really think you're going to get to the hospital?" "Don't you remember my motto? Always be prepared." He laughed, a dry chuff of a laugh. "Get it?" he said. "It's a Boy Scout joke." It wasn't much of a joke, but I got it all right. We were going to stock the bus. I got us some carts, which we definitely needed. We filled them with water, cases and cases of water. That was the first thing we loaded. Then we put in the plastic storage bins, which we had filled with food. Trail mix, beef jerky, protein bars, nuts, cookies, all the things you'd think to bring on, say, a hike. Then Nico also added canned soup, oatmeal, tins of tuna and chicken meat, and I realized he was preparing for us to survive for a long, long time from the food he was bringing. "In case we get to DIA and have to wait," he explained. I'm guessing that's Denver International Airport. And that's how I came to understand what we were packing the bus for. It wasn't to take Braden to the hospital. It was to make it to Denver. "What about the tire?" I said. "Isn't there one sketchy tire?" Nico shrugged. "Robbie fixed it the best he could. And it's coupled with a tire that's okay." After a few more minutes of quiet packing, I said, "I bet Braden's fine." "Yeah," Nico answered. "He has to be." We got all the food and drinks we might need for 2 weeks or so onto the bus. Nico told me to go get medical supplies. He was going to finish caulking the roof of the bus. When I came back with my 4 big tubs of antibiotics, pain medicine, bandages, Bactine, Benadryl, hydrogen peroxide, and the like, Astrid was there helping Nico. "Hey," she said with a nod of her head. "Hey." She had on a pair of jeans, new sneakers, and a pink fleece. I noticed she was still wearing my hat. Nico had apparently sent her to get blankets and sleeping bags, and now she had a big pile of them. Put 2 sleeping bags and 2 blankets under each seat, okay? Nico asked her. Sure thing, she said, and started bringing them on board. What's next? I asked. He sent me to Home Improvement for flashlights, battery-powered lanterns, and some assorted tools he thought we should have. I came back and Astrid and Nico were sitting, resting against the side of the bus, discussing what else we would need, or what else we needed. We have gas masks for each person, food, water, first aid stuff. Do we have Benadryl? All of it in the store, I said. He continued his list. Rope, matches, tarps, backpacks, oil, knives. We have 2 guns and some bullets. He rubbed his eyes. What about some money or some jewelry, stuff to barter, maybe? I'll get it, Astrid volunteered. Nico! Josie came stumbling into our clearing. Nico jumped up. What? Oh, God, what? It's Mr. Appleton. Not Braden. Not Braden. Braden's okay, Josie said, tears streaming down her face. She stumbled toward Nico and fell into his arms. Mr. Appleton's dead, she said. Nico held her to him, encircling her dark shoulders and pulling her into his body. She looked up at him, and he looked at her, and then they were kissing. Astrid and I didn't look at each other, but we each knew to walk away. We left them alone together.